health equity means achieving the highest level of health for all people. In clinical research, it ensures that study populations reflect the diversity of real-world patient communities. When clinical trials fail to represent everyone, the resulting treatments may not work equally well across all groups. True health equity requires dismantling barriers and building systems that serve every patient, regardless of race, ethnicity, age, or socioeconomic status. Why does health equity matter in clinical trials? Without diverse participation, we risk approving drugs that are less safe or effective for entire populations. The FDA reports that African Americans represent just 5% of clinical trial participants despite making up 13% of the U.S. population. Hispanic and Latino communities are similarly underrepresented. This gap means we simply do not know how certain treatments work across all patient groups, and that is a scientific and ethical problem. Historical injustices have created deep mistrust in medical research. The Tuskegee syphilis study stands as a painful example. From 1932 to 1972, Black men with syphilis were denied treatment so researchers could study the disease's progression. And the story of Henrietta Lacks, whose cells were taken without consent and used for decades of research, highlights a legacy of exploitation. Understanding this history is essential to building trust and designing ethical, equitable research today. Barriers to clinical trial enrollment are multifaceted. Mistrust rooted in historical abuses keeps many communities away. Access barriers include lack of transportation, time off work, childcare needs, and trials located far from diverse neighborhoods. Language barriers make consent forms and study materials inaccessible for non-English speakers. Many patients are never even offered the opportunity to participate. Implicit bias among providers plays a significant role. The FDA has issued landmark guidance requiring diversity action plans for late-stage clinical trials. Sponsors must now submit race and ethnicity diversity plans outlining enrollment targets and strategies. In 2022, the FDA permanently removed the requirement for foreign clinical data to be applicable to U.S. populations, reinforcing the need for domestic trials that reflect America's rich demographic diversity. Community-based recruitment transforms how we find trial participants. Instead of expecting patients to come to academic medical centers, researchers partner with community clinics, faith organizations, and local leaders. Trusted messengers within communities can explain research in culturally familiar terms. Mobile trial units and telehealth visits remove transportation barriers. This approach has increased enrollment of underrepresented groups by up to 300% in some studies. Culturally competent research goes beyond translation. It requires understanding the values, beliefs, and practices of each community. Research teams should reflect the communities they serve. Protocols must respect cultural norms around decision-making, family involvement, and traditional medicine. When patients see themselves in the research team and the study design, trust deepens and retention improves dramatically. Language accessibility is a cornerstone of equitable research. Consent forms, recruitment materials, and study questionnaires must be available in multiple languages at appropriate literacy levels. Professional medical interpreters, not family members, should handle informed consent discussions. The NIH requires that all funded research involving human participants address language access, yet many trials still fall short, excluding limited English proficiency populations. Systematic data collection on race, ethnicity, and social determinants of health is critical. The NIH now mandates standardized collection of demographic data using OMB-recommended categories. But collection alone is not enough. Data must be analyzed, reported transparently, and used to drive recruitment strategies. Granular data collection reveals disparities within broad categories, such as differences among Asian American subgroups. Subgroup analyses answer the question, does this treatment work the same for everyone? Pre-specified analyses by age, sex, race, ethnicity, and comorbid conditions can reveal important differences in safety and efficacy. For example, certain blood pressure medications work differently in African American patients. Without diverse trials and robust subgroup analyses, these critical insights remain hidden, and patient care suffers. Regulatory mandates are driving change. The 21st Century Cures Act and recent FDA guidance create enforceable requirements for diversity. The European Medicines Agency and other global regulators have followed suit. Sponsors who fail to meet diversity benchmarks may face delayed approvals or requirements for post-market studies. These mandates signal that health equity is no longer optional, it is a regulatory imperative. Successful models of equitable research exist. The All of Us research program has enrolled over 1 million participants, with more than 80% from historically underrepresented groups. The Precision Trial Network built community advisory boards into every site. Project Baseline used mobile research buses and at-home visits. These programs prove that with intentional design, equitable enrollment is achievable at scale. The future of health equity in clinical research is bright but demanding. Decentralized clinical trials, digital health technologies, and artificial intelligence can expand access, but only if designed without bias. Community engagement must shift from tokenism to true partnership, with community members as co-investigators. The goal is nothing less than a clinical research enterprise where everyone, everywhere, can participate and benefit. The bottom line is this: health equity in clinical research is both a moral imperative and a scientific necessity. Treatments developed without diverse participation cannot be trusted for diverse populations. By embedding equity into every phase of research, from protocol design to recruitment to analysis, we build a stronger, fairer evidence base that improves health outcomes for all people.